No matter what stage of life you are in, one thing that should never stop is growing. There is always room to grow and be better. We want to share your story and celebrate your journey so far. This is the Grow Podcast, where we share growth stories and hope to inspire people towards their personal growth. Hey guys, welcome to the Grow Podcast. First of all, I want to say thank you. Thank you guys for tuning in. This is episode 2, and again, thank you for your support. And please go ahead, follow, like, subscribe on Facebook, on YouTube, and just all the support we can get. We'll appreciate it. One thing we all have in common is growth. And on the Grow Podcast, what we do is we just want to work with you on your growth journey, and we share stories, growth stories, and hopefully we can inspire you and support you as much as we can as you grow. It's Mother's Day, and I have 2 very personally for me special people. And I'll introduce them first. I'll probably have them just introduce themselves, and then we'll just go from there. So it's Jennifer and Jennifer. So I don't know who wants to go first, but
I can.
Okay.
You just want me to tell a little about myself?
Yes, a little bit about yourself. It's fine.
I'm Jen, and I don't know. What do you want me to say?
Okay, Jen is a single mom.
I am. I'm a single mom.
Single mom, and you have
a 9-year-old daughter.
9-year-old daughter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How long have you been a single mom?
For 7 years.
For 7 years. Okay. And then we have Jen.
The other Jen.
The other Jen.
Yeah. So my name is Jen Tomasik, and I am mother of 3 children. My oldest is Natalie. She's 26.
Yeah.
And my middle is Uriah, and he'll be 21 this year in July. And then I have Ariana, and she just turned 13.
Yeah. If you can, as close as you can to the mic, so they can hear.
Sure.
So you have 26.
Almost 21 and
Almost
just
21,
turned 13.
Almost turned 13. So you've been a single mom for how long?
Well, considering I wasn't married to any of their dads.
Yeah.
26 years.
Wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, I consider that. I mean, granted, the dads were, Uriah's dad was in his life for a period of time.
Yeah.
And Ariana's dad is very much in her life. But Natalie, my oldest, she had a brief time where Uriah's dad was in her life, and that was probably the closest thing that, when she was younger. So yeah. Pretty much single.
I want to ask this.
Okay.
The point where you found out I'm going to be in this thing by myself. What went through your head? Like, was it difficult, or was it like, it's fine? Like, how? What was the point? What was the time where you found out I'm having a baby, and I'm in this thing by myself?
Well, for me, like, I was married to Harlow's dad, so then we got divorced, and so that whenever it started, like, she started going back and forth.
Yeah.
That was like the hardest part because, you're used to having your child with you all the time or every day. And then for her to just have to be gone for, days or a week at a time, that's when it just, I don't know, it crushes you really, because especially if they're like not ready to go or they don't understand what's happening.
Yeah.
Because Harlow was 2.5
Yeah.
when that started. So, I mean, to go back and forth and not understand why I'm having to go see dad or go see mom or go, it's it's crushing because you think, this is not the life I thought I was gonna have.
Yeah. Did it have any effect on her? Because it was pretty young, and that's probably another question. Is it? I don't know if it affects kids more when they're older or when they're younger. Because if I'm thinking, I feel like if she's younger, then she probably doesn't know a lot about what's happening. So is that better?
I don't think it's better. She didn't understand, but yeah. I think that it was harder for her the older she got, because even though she was still doing the same thing she's done since she was 2.5,
yeah,
she's realizing, oh, this is what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. And it's just, when she was first started doing it, she didn't really understand, she would cry and it would be hard because she'd be leaving me and going to her dad, or she'd be leaving her dad and coming to me. And it's just one of those things where she didn't, you don't understand when you're that young.
Yeah. I'll follow up on that, but just the same question. When you realized, this whole thing by myself, how did you take it?
So I am 44 today, but when I found out I was pregnant, I was in my
Sorry. You're 44 today, like it's a birthday today.
No.
Oh, okay.
No, like,
I was gonna be like,
sorry,
okay.
let me repeat.
All right.
I'm 44. I just turned 44 in January.
Oh, okay. Because you said I'm 44 today, so I was like, what?
No, so now I'm 44, so I'm bringing you back I'm giving you some time frame.
Like, I should have gotten a birthday gift. Okay. Wait, sorry.
But so I found out that I was pregnant the summer going into my senior year. So I was a teen mom. And so I had to make the decision, and I was given the option of abortion to have my daughter, who I didn't know was going to be my daughter, but to keep her or to have an abortion. And
who gave you the option?
My stepmom. She didn't say she didn't give it to me, but she told me about it.
Okay. So
she wasn't saying that she was going to pay for it or
right.
She was just telling me these are the options.
Right.
And it didn't ever enter into my mind.
Yeah.
I just knew that I was going to have the baby, and I didn't freak out. I did freak out, like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? But I was kind of a pretty determined young lady, and I was already kind of really independent. And so I was like, I can totally do this. And so I decided to keep Natalie, and I entered into my senior year. And luckily there at Sequoia Schools, they had a program for teen moms that would allow them to, once they had the baby, to go to our babies were all at a little daycare close to the school, and they would bring us over there to teach us parenting classes, and they would allow us to breastfeed our children, and so it kind of like fitted into our school schedule.
Yeah.
And so I had Natalie January on my birthday, on my 18th birthday.
Yes, sorry to stop you, but so throughout he was not in the picture at all.
Okay, so Okay, so let me bring this back.
Do we need tissue papers?
No, let's. Okay,
sure?
It's a very complicated story, so let me bring it back to the beginning.
Okay.
Uriah's dad was my high school sweetheart. I was at the time when I met Uriah's dad. I was going to Tahlequah High School. I was a good student. In fact, I was one of the only students I was in the S Club, which is kind of like a sorority service club. You have to have good grades. You have to have, you have to get in. And I was playing sports and stuff, but I was being tardy to my first hour class because I was picking up Nick and some other friends and getting them to school so they would stay in school.
Yeah.
So I was being tardy to my first hour class. And so a counselor brought me in that day and said, hey, Jen, I noticed your grades are suffering a little bit. Like they had gone down a letter grade, and I was being tardy to my first hour class, and that lady, an English teacher, did not like that. So he told me that I should consider dropping out of high school, getting my GED, and getting a job at McDonald's. And by the time my class graduated, I would be in management. And that might be the best suit for me, because he saw kids come through like me, and that they would just end up dropping out anyways. I was floored. So I decided that day that I just felt really betrayed, honestly, because I love that school. I transferred from there to Sequoia Schools. Not only did that happen, but also I found out that Nick was cheating on me on the same day. So not only did I lose my being at high school there at Tahlequah, but I also lost my boyfriend, my high school sweetheart.
Yeah.
So I went to Sequoia Schools, and that's where I met Natalie's dad, Charlie.
Yeah.
And so we went to prom together. Y'all know what happens at prom. What shouldn't happen at prom, but I was an unsupervised teen, so
yeah,
it's a whole other story. But so Natalie came about. So when I found out that I was pregnant with Natalie, I told her dad, Charlie, and he told me that it wasn't his. He denied that Natalie was his, and so I was heartbroken. Because I really did think that that she was. And, granted, I dated Nick and Charlie a month apart. So,
yeah.
Let's just be honest, I was sexually active with both of them. So, yeah. Charlie did kind of have could possibly have a reasoning there. So, I was really alone. I had lost my high school sweetheart. And I had this other boy that I, had a crush on and rebound, whatever you want to call it. And he was rejecting me too. And the baby that I thought was his. And so Nick came back in my life. And he told me, I don't care if the baby is mine or not. I'll help you raise the baby. And so we got back together. And so I went through my senior year, went to those parenting classes that they had for me, had Natalie on January 15th, my birthday, my 18th birthday, hello adulthood, and finished up the classes with her and graduated in 95, holding my 6-month, or well, she was probably about less than 6 months old, but holding her. And so I don't know, it just wasn't a thought in my mind. It was just, I'm pregnant. This is my baby. I've got to take care of her. There was just, I don't know. So when I graduated, when you turn 18 and you're tribal and because I'm Cawville, you get the thing called 18 monies. And so I was pretty much living on my own. At that time, I had used that 18 monies to get my home, buy furniture, buy washer and dryer, everything I needed to start my home, her bed, crib, everything. So I was really self-sustaining. And so that's kind of how it all came about. But there wasn't ever a question in my mind how I was going to do it. I just did it.
Did you, because you talked about it's been like you, was there any support system around you?
Absolutely. My dad had remarried to my stepmom, Paula. Yeah. And so they were very supportive. And then my mom was really supportive to me at that time too, with Natalie. Okay. She always has been. My mom's just been amazing. So that's true. My family's been supportive of all my children. Yeah. But in that early stage of motherhood, when everything's uncertain, my mom was very helpful. And so was my mom and my dad, my Nana and Papa. That's what we call them.
And this is just like a general question. What's life as a single parent like?
It has its difficulties, like trying to discipline. Sometimes it's harder because, you feel like you're the bad guy all the time because you're the only one there to discipline her or to, you don't have that support, like that person, your partner there to help you be the one to do that. Or even just, I don't know, trying to sometimes, yes, her dad is in her life and she, has a very good relationship with her dad, but when he's not there to try to be the dad and the mom, it's hard, it's not easy to be both of those people sometimes. And so, I just feel like it has its ups and downs. It's, I'm happy to be there and show her I'm a strong woman and that, I can go through this and still keep my head up and, still be her mom and be there for her. But then there's days where I'm just like, I am the worst mom ever because you feel that way because you feel like you're carrying all of this stuff on you. You're having to do all of these roles.
Yeah.
And so then it causes you to feel a little more like, oh, am I even being what she needs us to be? You know, what needs me to be as a mom and stuff. So
there are people that kind of get extra motivation when things happen to them. Mm-hmm. As a single parent, is there like an extra push to, I don't know, maybe prove that I can do it, or I'm going to show him I can do it? Is there an extra motivation that comes with being a single parent to just want to do it and do it well? Maybe for the kid too.
Whenever I first got divorced, it was crushing. You know, I never thought that was going to be my life, because Harlow's dad was like, we knew each other since we were kids. We grew up together. We were best friends. That was our story, you know, and so it was crushing. And so for a while, I felt like I wasn't even capable to be her mom like I needed to be, because I was just so like having to deal with that. So then once I got through a little bit of that, I felt like, okay, I have to be strong for her, and I have to stand up and prove that I can do this regardless. Yeah. My mom has been a single mom for 36 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. My dad was not ever in my life. Like when she was pregnant, he left. He didn't want to be a part of it. Wow. So I kind of have used that strength of what she has and how she raised me by herself. You know, she had support system. She's had family who's helped and stuff, but I've seen her strength, and so I feel like I've needed to do that same thing to show my daughter that, you know, no matter what happens in life, you have a support system, you have people there, you know, above all, you have God who's going to pick you up and help you through all of this and stuff. So,
and I'm kind of the other side of the coin on that, because you had a mother that was there for you and, you know, really just came through. I'm on the other side of the coin of what motivated me was the lack of parenting. I was kind of much left to myself. You know, my parents, they loved me. Yes, they did. But they had issues. They had stuff that they were going through. They had life that they were living, trauma that they were dealing with. And when I talk about my parents, please know that we're completely healed, and there's forgiveness there and repentance and stuff, everything between us. But I grew up pretty much raising myself for a period of time. And so that was kind of left to myself. That's why I was pregnant so young, to be honest. Yeah. So I grew up very quickly. And so to just do life, what motivated me was I wanted to give my children what I myself didn't have. And it was not just to be left to themselves to take care of themselves, but I've always told my kids, I just want you to go further than me. I want you to do more than me. I want you to, you know, parent better than me. Everything, you know, just learn from my mistakes and stuff. So that was my motivation. I didn't want to repeat the cycle that I experienced with my parents.
Our children watch us anyway, regardless if we're single parents or not. And so I feel like even as a single woman, you know, a single mom and a woman, like I have to show her, you know, strength and you know, how to stand up when stuff like that happens, you know, when life gets you down or whenever you're dealing with certain situations, you know, just to try to have that strength and stuff.
At this point, I feel like it's it's always about the kids. I'll ask you this question: have your kid ever come to you and be like, where is daddy, or why is daddy not here? Questions like that.
Oh yeah, she's asked us. I mean, she's like,
how does that make you feel? Like, how do you respond to that?
Well, I mean, it's hard. It's hard to respond and tell them, you know. I mean, Harlow knows her dad and I are divorced, but she's like, there's been times that she's come to me and been like, I wish you and daddy could get back together. I wish you guys could. And, you know, I just said that's not what God has for us, you know. Yeah. Her dad is remarried, and I'm thankful for his wife, because she's, you know, we get along really great, and she has a good relationship with Harlow and stuff. And so I also say that, like, Daddy has, somebody that's, and God's going to send somebody to Mommy and stuff like that. So I just try to explain it to her in a way that, the best I can. It's hard. It's not easy. You don't know what to say, especially when you're on the spot.
I'm thinking about myself. I'm like, man, it has to be really hard.
Yeah. I think, with the dynamic that I had, when Natalie was born and Nick took care of her as his own, there had to come a point where we had Uriah, and when we had Uriah, it was obvious that Natalie was not Nick's, and so that had to have been addressed, and Natalie knew, and so when she was about 10 years old, I sat her down and told her the truth, and that was extremely hard, but so freeing, because at that time, unfortunately, Charlie, after we knew each other in high school, he went back to Tulsa and he got in a really bad legal stuff. I'll just be honest, he did a carjacking or something like that, and he ended up being put in prison for many, many years. And so even when we moved back, because we moved away for a little bit to Montana, when we moved back to Oklahoma, Charlie and I reconnected because it was time to tell him. And I didn't know where he was at in his life, so I didn't know if it would be healthy or not to introduce them at that point. But I did tell him, I just want her to know the truth, and I'll allow her to, And it was crazy because what we did was we went to the zoo, and I was like, we're gonna go with a friend, and I didn't know. It was just a friend. Like, we didn't, at that time I was already separated from Uriah's dad. And so I don't know what she was thinking. Maybe she was thinking, I don't know. She was 10. Surely she probably knew. Anyways, when we got back to my mom's house, I sat her down and I said, Charlie is, and I had to explain it to her, which was so extremely hard. But when I did, she was she was happy. She was like, yay. She's like, I knew, Mom. I was like, how'd you know? She's like, well, we've been hanging out all day, and I look like him, I act like him, and it's just like, wow, okay. But I knew at that point that there was limited access he had to her, because I still didn't trust him, because he was still having issues life-wise. But I'm glad he knew.
Well,
and she knew the truth.
I work with kids, and one of the most difficult questions I've had to answer is when kids come to me and are like, I want to go home. Like, why can't I go back to my parents? Like, why am I not with my mom? It's, and I have to kind of like try to come up with, because you're also trying to manage trauma, so you have to come up with an answer that is kind of satisfying for the kid, but does not hurt the kid more. I don't know if that makes sense. And it's just hard. So I can imagine you trying to explain, and this is not even like my child, but I mean, I have a connection with kids on my cases, so I'm just thinking like your bio child and having to, it sounds rough.
Yeah, I think that was probably one of the, because it's just like, man, I mean, that was such a huge thing, a secret to hold on to, and I just didn't know how it would give her more trauma or give her relief. And luckily she was so thankful. And her dad and her have a good relationship today as a 26-year-old. She knows his limitations as an adult. So that's very healthy.
I think to me, it makes you feel kind of like you failed, a little bit. Just like for them to have to ask, like, why did this happen? Or why aren't you with my dad? Or, why do I have to go back and forth? Why is it like this? It just makes you kind of have that gut wrenching feeling of, I failed her as a, And
because I think like I was just gonna say, like with Jen, like I think that, us growing up in homes that were broken, we just wanted that. And I hope I'm not speaking for you, but we just wanted that home with that white picket fence, with be married with 2.5 kids and have that picture frame looking family. And when we ourselves didn't have that, it was just like, wow, like all I wanted to do was give my children this picture perfect thing that I myself didn't have.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have to compensate for that.
I'm still learning the whole American slangs. You said 2.5 kids.
What's
that? I'm still. What's 2.5
so that's like
kids?
a boy and a girl and a dog.
Oh, okay. I'm like, I was like 2.5.
He's like,
half
how
of
does
a
that
child.
work?
I don't know. Okay.
Yeah. So in America, it's like 2.5 kids is like a boy and a girl and a dog or an animal or something like that. I don't know. Is that correct?
I'll have to add that to my dictionary. I was like 2.5. How do you have half a child? What's Jen talking about? I don't know. But yeah.
Why did I have her on?
Can we cut her mic?
Yeah,
yeah, please cut her out of here.
Yeah, it's just
she's too much.
I don't know how your relationship with the father of your child is, but I want to ask this question too. Let's assume there were things that happened. How much information is too much for the child? Mm-hmm. And is there like an age appropriate time? Like what ages? Because I know, for example, for me working with kids, different kids depending on their ages.
Right.
You know, there's this much information I can give to a 4-year-old, to a 10-year-old, to a teenager, and it also depends on their behaviors too and all that. There's just different things that we look at. So for you as a single parent, how much information is too much information? And do you have like age? I don't know. Do you understand what I'm asking?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
Absolutely.
I mean, with Harlow being 9, she's only 9, you know. So she's been going through this, like I said, since she was 2.5. I don't tell her a lot of stuff, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, if there's things that, if her dad and I don't get along on certain situations, I can't go to her and be like, well, your dad said this. I don't do that. Yeah. One, I won't do that. I won't throw her dad under the bus or make him be a villain to her.
Yeah.
But I also just can't tell her certain things and how certain, you know, just because she doesn't understand. She's 9, so she feels like, she still has that innocence and that, you know, just trying to be a kid, and I'm just trying to keep her a kid and not make her grow up so fast having to go through this.
Yeah. You know, I just I try to remember how I was at that, you know, at 10. Mm-hmm. You know, there's a lot of adult things going on at 10 in my life, and so I've just learned with my children, like, I don't know, 18 is kind of like a rite of passage. And so like when, you know, Natalie kind of would come to me and ask me things, but I would definitely keep things from my children, like Jen said, that like they didn't need to know the grittiness or the trauma that was, you know, had while their dads and I were together, or what we experienced even when we were separated, you know, the contention that sometimes happens. But as my 26-year-old comes to me, I can really get real with her. And as my 21-year-old comes to me, I can really let them know what happened. And, but from such a loving perspective, because I'm on really good terms with all my children's fathers, and really help them see their dads, give them some grace for what their choices and their actions and everything like that. Because I feel like they're cognitive enough to deal with it at that point, you know. But my 13-year-old, I don't think I could tell her some of this stuff yet. Mm-hmm. I mean, although, you know, she may be in a room while I'm ministering to somebody, and I'm being transparent with the woman I'm talking about on certain issues. She'll oversee it. But
I'll tell you why I asked that question. Because there's a lot of single parents. There's lots of kids that grew up or are still growing up in broken homes. And one very common thing that you see is that these kids become pawns, kind of. And you see both parents fighting at each other. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of like they don't even care about the kids.
Yeah.
So it's they use there's a popular adage in Africa, Nigeria. They kind of say when two elephants fight, the grass suffers.
Mm.
You know, because they stumble. So you see these both of these parents trying to, and they use the kids to try to get at each other. You know, dad is telling the kids, your mom is this, your mom is that, blah 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 blah. And then the kid goes to mom and blah. You know, and it's just it's really sad.
Yeah.
I'm not saying this because you guys are here, but I'm just like really thankful. I'm 100% sure that you were hurt when you got divorced. I'm 100% sure that you were really hurt when
the relationship,
he wasn't there for you. But that's something that's between you
absolutely
and him.
Yeah.
You know, and as much as possible, you want to protect the kids because they don't have a part in the, it's not their, this is, they don't have anything to do with the issues you have with. So, you know, love your dad. Dad is the best. For dad, love your mom. Mom is the best. And whatever issues you guys have on the top, on the surface, you guys have your issues.
Yeah.
But when the kids are there, live the best life you can live for the kids. And I just really wish that more people would understand that, you know, and just be able to co-parent, you know, and have the kids, even if they can't have the both of you together, but they can experience the both of you together to some extent, you know.
Yeah, and I think like what a huge and I don't know if you experienced this, but like with Ariana's dad, he was more involved. So like I hadn't really experienced that because with Natalie and Uriah's dad, they kind of just went off and did their own thing. So like you were talking about, how do you do that co-parenting whenever you do have the dad that wants to be involved? And he kind of started to try to play Ariana like that pawn.
Yeah.
And there was already domestic abuse and just some things that happened. So I had to, you know, it's like I said, it's good now. But back then, you know, I had to get a protective order, and then I also had to get a visitation in place.
Yeah.
And that stopped a lot of the pawn playing because then there was a clear line drawn.
Yeah.
And it stopped that because he would control by, oh, I want you to pick her up here. And then he would be 30 minutes late or an hour late or a change location or whatever. So to stop that or minimize that, we got that, you know, visitation in place, court ordered. And that helped everything so much to be able to get that in place. And, you know, our relationship needed that at that time because he was trying to go that route to control the relationship still, even though we weren't in a relationship. Yeah. So that was very helpful. And,
for us, like at first, co-parenting was hard. I mean, we didn't get along. We had that hurt from the divorce and just not, you know, like still trying to deal with that and heal with that. And then trying to deal with our new lives of being, we're not together, we're divorced, and we, you know, we have this child together, so we have to figure out how to, and so it's taken us some time, but we are to a point now where we get along. We, you know, when we have to make decisions about her, we can talk to each other about it. You know, there was times that even at some of her events, we wouldn't even be near each other. And I hated that for her.
Let me ask you, so what got you to that point? How did you get to the point now? Because, I mean, if you're like, we were at events, we couldn't even, like, we hated each other, we didn't want to see each other. How did you get to a point where you guys can co-parent very well? What happened?
Well, there was a lot of prayer involved, obviously. I mean, I had to, you know, just talking about it and being like,
both of you talking?
Yes, and just kind of saying, you know, we didn't have to do, our lives were not like this. You know, yes, I didn't have a dad in my life, but I didn't have to go back and forth, and I didn't have to deal with this conflict, or I didn't have to deal with parents not getting along. And same for him. His parents have been in his life, and so like he didn't have to deal with that. And so I said, she shouldn't have to, and she should have to. You know, I'm not saying like even for us at events or anything like that, we didn't have to be best friends and sit by each other if that's not how he felt. But when I explained it, like when we were at, like, I played basketball in middle school and I ran track in high school, I didn't have to go back and forth to see my family after I was done. Yeah. And I didn't feel like she should have to either. And I kind of explained it in a way like, you know, let's just be there for her. We don't have to necessarily, be best friends and, all that stuff, but just to be there to support her together and show that, we love her. We are her parents. It, once we had that conversation, we both just were kind of like, we're doing this for Harlow. This is not about us. It's not about, and so it's really kind of just like changed, and we've turned that page to where we get along and we can talk about, if something comes up that we need to take care of for Harlow, we talk to each other about it and we're able to get along and it not be an issue or anything.
Well, I don't know your ex, but shout out to him, because it takes a real human being, especially for a man, because most of us men will have some kind of pride, so it takes a real man to be able to be like, and switch from the struggles you guys were having to to be able to co-parent at the level that you guys are doing it at now. Yeah. So I don't know him, but shout out to you guys for being able to think about the kid first. I ask you this one. There's a role that mothers play. There's a role that fathers play. And I feel like, this is me personally, I feel like kids need that mother role and father role in their lives. I know you co-parent. I know with your first child, dad wasn't there, right? How do you feel like the role of a father is important? And if you feel like it's important, how, as a single mom, how do you make sure that if dad is not there, somehow this child still has a good, whether it's a good male role model or have some kind of father figure around her that would guide her so she doesn't lose out completely on that fatherly role in her life or his life?
Yeah. All three of my kids have had such a different growth pattern with that, Yeah,
so sorry, just sorry, I'm cutting you, but like you talked about, raising up with your dad wasn't there, right? You say so, yeah.
Yeah.
It kind of affects you because you make really bad decisions, especially when it comes to dating and stuff. So I feel like it's very important, and that's what I'm asking. Like, how do you just ensure that they have good guidance and just sorry to cut you, but
no, it's okay. So Natalie had Nick for just a period of time, but my dad was heavily, I guess, an influence in Natalie's life as that male masculine role model, and I think it's extremely important to have someone in your child's life that can show your child, whether it's male or female. God created this order for a reason. It's definitely there for a reason. Yeah. And, so it's really important. And I love the fact that she had experiences with my dad. Yeah. And Uriah, his dad wasn't in his life for a long period of time either. Yeah. When we separated, when he was born, he pretty much was, in and out, and then really non-existent for a while and then back in it. So during that time period, is when I encountered, or the Lord, during that time period is when I turned my life back to the Lord, and I started finding fellowship and going to church. And so the men at church became that male role model for my son, and still yet today are still. And then obviously Ariana has her dad, so that I'm just really thankful. But it's very critical, I think, for a child to have that role modeled for them, in the aspect of, just the honor, the protection, just to model how a father is supposed to be for a son or a daughter, you know.
I know for me, like with Harlow, she has her dad in her life, but for me to not have mine, I've had family, like I have uncles. I have an uncle in my life that's almost like a dad to me. Yeah. He's been there through everything. He went to all my events. He's taught me all kinds of different things. he's made sure I'm equipped to be an independent woman, like just all the things that I would need to be able to strive in life. He's been there and taught that. And I feel like I'm stronger because of that. Yes, I've had my mom and I'm very grateful for her, but to have that male, influence in my life and stuff, like you said, to show what, not only a dad is supposed to be like, but like a husband, what a husband's supposed to be like and stuff. He's been married to my aunt for forever, 50 years, I think. And so it's like that example, shows that's what not only, like I said, not only a dad is supposed to be like, but also what a husband is supposed to be like. And so I'm grateful I had that, and he's there for Harlow as well.
Yeah.
He's ready to step in anytime he needs to and stuff. And so I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah, I just feel like it's really important because even for me, there are things that Maddie does with the kids. I'm just looking at her and I'm like, thank God you guys have a mom. Because it was just me.
Yeah.
Nah.
Yeah.
Nah, not doing it. So, and I'm pretty sure that there are roles I play with the kids that, she probably might not play as much as I might not play like I would do it. So I just felt like those two roles complement each other, and it doesn't have to be biological,
right?
But you can have people that can fill in and play those roles in the child's life, and I'm just thankful that you guys have those people in your life. Weird question, but is there anything that you feel like is an advantage to single parenting?
I think
there's something you like about being a single parent.
Something I like. I think just to be able to show my strength and show how to. No, I didn't plan this. Obviously, this was not going to be what my life, or not what I ever dreamed my life would be like. But to show, I think I go back to that a lot. But just the strength of being a single mom and and just how to be strong when things like this happen in your life and stuff. And I'm grateful I can show her that, and I can show her because she says stuff like, oh, how do you feel about that or whatever. And she's at that age now, she's starting to with emotions and stuff. And so I'm showing her, I pray about it. I just know your strength, know your use your voice and stuff like that. That's just things that I'm trying to teach her and stuff. And I don't know that there's anything specific that I'm like, oh, I love this about being a single parent, but that's something I feel like I'm glad I can do is just show her.
I think, just honestly, I've never even thought about being a single parent. I don't know. I guess I've been doing it for so long. It's just like, huh?
Yeah.
And not that, I did have a very long relationship that we ended last year. So I've been in a season of singleness for a while. But I think I would say in the season of singleness, my children really see me for the first time in a relationship with our Heavenly Father, our first love. And so they're seeing that I'm completely and utterly surrendered to a God that provides and protects and leads and is the head of my household. And my 13-year-old who lives with me, she is seeing that. She's seen me walk that out. And I think that's the most powerful thing I've ever shown any of my children is that, not that I don't want a husband, it's just that the Lord shifted my perspective and brought me back to this beautiful place of him saying, I'm your husband, I'm your provider, I'm your healer, everything's, So like if we go out to dinner, like if they say, hey, thanks Mom, thanks for the food, say, no, thanks Jesus, because he's really the one that provided this, you know what I mean? And so it's just like modeling that for them. And I think that's the biggest thing.
I want to hit on two things that you mentioned. Dating as a single parent. We'll come to that one.
Not dating right now.
But the first one is, when I asked you about how you guys were able to switch from co-parenting, from struggling, and you talked about how prayers help. And then you also talked about the role of the church and how things got better as you got to know God. So how, and people's perspective, maybe, I mean, our experiences are different. If you asked me personally, how did I grow and get to where I am now? Really, it's God. For someone else, they can have another story, hard work, blah, 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 blah. But, so it's different experiences for different people. But how important do you think your relationship with God and the church helped you grow as a person in relationship with your single parenthood?
A lot. I mean, it took, after my divorce, you just feel lost almost. Like it's, they say it's like a trauma. It's a death. It's a death of a marriage. And so to get through that and to try to find yourself again, and, when you're married for so long or you've been with that person for so long, and then you're like, what do I do now? Just prayer was, all I could do was cling to God. That's the only thing I could do, because I was like, I'm the type that I don't try to put my burdens and the things I deal with onto other people. So I would kind of just hold it all in and keep it to myself. And so the only person I really gave it to was God. And, even just raising a kid by yourself without the other parent present all the time. It's a lot of prayers, because you're like, am I doing this right? Is this what you want me to do? Even talking about, you mentioned about dating and stuff, like Harlow's always like, oh, I want you to like get married. I want siblings. I want this, and I have to say,
She wants another baby.
I'm like, I'm waiting for God to send somebody for us. I try to show her that, like, God's going to send us somebody, somebody that for Mom, and that's going to, be there for you too and stuff. So just to try to be that example and show her that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's funny. I mean, Daniel, just even you inviting Jen and I to do this, I didn't know Jen was going to be the other mom that you invited. And I think you didn't realize that Jen and I, our relationship goes back even further than us. When you met us, we actually worked together at Cherokee Nation a long time ago. And so I knew Jen when she was kind of in the very beginning of, the single mom life. And her and I both were kind of, our hearts were at the same place, because Uriah's dad wasn't in his life, and you were going through that with yours, and I was just beginning to follow Jesus then. And so we prayed over our, the relationship with our children's fathers, and that it would, come full circle. And so we literally prayed in the women that ended up marrying our exes and to help that. And we just prayed that God would place them with someone that would help mend the relationship and bring bring my child back to his father. And so, Jen, your relationship was healed through that. And thank God the new woman, the wife was so, just had a heart for you and had a heart for, and the new wife for Nick.
Yeah.
She was heaven sent, and she's like, I know you guys don't get along, but I want to be the connector so that.
And you don't see that often.
Right. Yeah.
Listen, shout out to
God.
those women
Yeah.
too. Those people, again, because really we should celebrate people like that.
Yes.
It's not often that it happens. You know, many times people come and they're like, I don't want you to get into that, blah, 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 blah. So it's whoever she is and whoever she is, shout out to those people and God bless them.
Yes, God bless them.
Yeah.
I mean, answered prayers. I mean, I remember, I don't know if you remember that, Jen, but I got an email from her and she said, I know you and Nick have a hard time, but I really want to connect, Nick to his son because now we have a son and I want my son to know, Uriah. And I mean, I just remember bawling and going, God, that's such a big prayer answer.
And I reached out to his wife and was like, thank you for being in Harlow's life and being good to her and all this stuff. And she said, I want to be there to help. Yes, we may not have, me and Harlow's dad may not have gotten along, but she kind of wanted to help. Same thing, kind of be that
the buffer
just help until we could get that to the place we are today.
Absolutely.
And so, I do credit her on some of that, because she has been there to be like, this is just about Harlow. It's not about us and what, what we've dealt with. Yes, there's a lot of emotions and a lot of history and a lot of different things that we've dealt with in our lives from, us and just knowing each other, but just to even like
get the communication, line of communication, the positive co-parenting, the established. I mean, she would even come and meet me at the pickup spot. She's like, Nick doesn't even have to be in the situation. Just me and you meet. Yeah. And I was like, come on.
But it goes back to us praying those prayers about how like we just want somebody who is going to be, not only good to us, but positive for our children, love our children like our own.
You might be watching this podcast and maybe you're not a Christian, maybe you don't believe in God, and that's fine. That's but God answers prayers.
Absolutely.
He does, for sure.
God answers prayers. I've seen it in my life. I have testimonies of He answers prayers. He really does. And I'm just thankful for the both of you. I'm going to end on this one, the fun one. Dating as a single parent. I'm not going to ask if you're dating or not. If you want to say that's your personal stuff, but I'm just going to ask you, how does you being a single parent, does it have any effect on your dating life? How different is it?
Yeah. I say for me, because my daughter.
There's a smile on Jen's face. Okay, go ahead.
It's different for me because Harlow's 9. I mean, I guess Ariana's 13. Yeah. So it's still kind of, but like with her being 9, I can't just introduce that person right away. I can't just be like, hey, and also like the times that I can go on dates or do things has to be the time when she's at her dad's, because I'm a mom first before I'm anything else, and so I've been in relationships where I've had to be like, sorry, I'm mom tonight, I can't do stuff. There's also been, what is that noise? Oh.
Okay, yeah, that's fine.
I was like, something's happening.
Yeah, well, kind of get a noise. That's fine.
But go ahead. Yeah, just, and even like I've been in relationships where the guy I'm dating has kids.
Yeah.
And that's hard too, because then when it doesn't work out, she's attached to that child, not only to that guy, but to that child too. Yeah. And so it's just, I have to guard her heart just as much as I have to guard my own.
Yeah. Let me ask you, how long before, is it once you meet a guy and it's getting serious, do you tell him immediately, hey, I have a daughter or I have a child?
No, that's...
You need to know how. Or do you give it some time? How long before? And then number 2, you talked about, you don't introduce him to the... So how long also do you, before you introduce him to the child? How have you answered that?
Well... I don't know, because before I got into my season of singleness, I was with somebody for years. And so it's been.
I like the way you put it. If I got into my season of singleness, sounds very spiritual.
It is very
if I got into my season of singleness,
it is.
That's what I'm going to start calling it.
Yeah,
it is.
I am in the season
like
of
I'm praying for
singleness.
my season of blessings.
I say season.
Season of singleness.
I say season because it doesn't lock you in, right? It's just a season, so it's going to change.
If I got into my season of,
it's not a set time frame.
No,
it's just like,
not. Yeah.
season's over.
Yep, exactly.
go ahead.
Right?
I needed to
You don't
touch on
close
that.
the door on
It
that.
sounded too good.
This is forever single. Never going to be no. So I haven't actually, been in the dating pool or whatever you want to say since I came into my season of singleness since last September. So I'm not even. I don't even know what that is yet because I haven't started dating. I haven't tried to date or anything. I've actually been commissioned to start a singles ministry, so I'm really just getting people refocused on the Lord and just doing some work, some heart checks and heart work, and So ask me whenever I start dating again because I don't know.
And you mentioned, we just plug that in. Jen runs a single ministry at 2911 Church, and you guys meet every last Saturday of the month.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
What time?
About 6 p.m. is going to be the time, and we're going to meet at the Lift.
What's your like Facebook?
Yeah, Facebook. Yeah. We have a Facebook page and a Facebook
How can
group.
people find you on Facebook?
Look up First Love Singles Ministries.
Okay, yeah. So if you're watching, you're single, and you just want to find people like you to connect with, get to know God more, have positive conversations, and just grow together. You can look for First Love Singles Ministry on Facebook, and if you're having issues with that, just go to 2911 Church, ask for Jen, or just ask for the Singles Ministry, and they'll guide you to that.
Yeah,
so
be legit.
Yeah. So how many years will it take you before you introduce him to?
How many years?
Right.
Before you introduce
I think
him to
my thing,
her.
because the first thing you asked was, when do you tell them?
Oh yeah,
that you
yeah.
So for me, that I'm upfront, like, hey, I'm just letting you know I'm a mom, because I want them to know, like, I'm a mom first.
Yeah.
And so if that's a deal breaker, then this isn't for you, because some guys it's not. I mean, they're not okay with that. They want, and so I just kind of have to let them know, like, ahead of time, I have a child. Sometimes she takes my full attention. Sometimes I can multitask. I can still give you attention and her, but just letting you know.
Yeah.
And then what was the second question?
How long before you tell her?
I think it's just when we get to the point where we know we're going to be in a relationship, this is going to be, we're going to do this and stuff, because, and I think I some of the times I let them kind of help. Okay, I feel like I'm, when they say they're ready to meet her and they're ready to kind of incorporate her into our relationship as well and stuff. I mean, I don't fully just make it my whole decision. Yeah. But I do have to, like I said, guard her heart, because she does get attached. She is somebody who, she's a loving kid. And so to have her heart broken, if it doesn't work out, breaks my heart even more, because not only am I dealing with it not working out, but then I'm also having to deal with her being upset because it didn't. And so it's just, I've learned, because there's times that I've introduced her really early and then it didn't work out. And then, she's like, what happened? I don't know, and all this stuff. And why don't I get to see this person anymore? And stuff.
And it just adds more pain and more. Yeah.
So I've learned from that. And it's definitely something that I will not do unless I know for sure that it's going to be something like we are to a point that this isn't just going to end in 5 days or, in 3 months or whatever. Like, this is a real deal. Then I will introduce her, because it's about her. It's making sure to guard her heart just as much as.
Listen, man, I feel like we've had some really good conversations here, and maybe we can go on and on and on and on, but we're kind of short on time, but I just want to say thank you to the both of you. First of all, for being just amazing human beings. And I really hope that some single moms out there or even mothers out there somehow can pick one or two things from this conversation, and hopefully maybe someone who's just been like, you know what, I hate him, and is struggling with co-parenting or struggling with the kids are it's just a big mess, that hopefully they can listen to this and just find strength. They can listen to this and just kind of have some hope and be willing to give it another chance, and that's why we do this. This is the reason why we started this podcast. And if it's just one person that this helps, and I feel like it's job done,
right?
And I'm just thankful for you guys for coming. And we have a small Mother's Day gift.
Aww.
For the both of you.
Thank you.
Oh, okay.
Flowers. I love flowers.
Yeah.
Aww.
And
I'm a big believer in you give your flowers to the living, so thank you.
And while you have that in there, we have a specially scented, customized Best Mom Ever candle.
Aww.
And I want to give a special shout out to 1905 Candles. I'm going to say, hey guys, if you want this one, this was customized for the show. But I think the one you have,
good.
Can I just see that?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, the one you have has the
really, really good.
Best Mom Ever.
Aww.
And you can have customized candles for any kind of occasion. I think they have about 7 different fragrances. I think we're gonna have we're gonna have if you want to get a candle from 1905, the smell is awesome.
Like, it smells really good.
We'll have the link down on this video so that you can go. I think there's a Facebook page and there's also an Etsy shop where you can go and 1905. I want to say a big shout out and thank you to them for this gift. Hey, thank you guys very much, Jen.
Thank you.
And Jen. Jen and Jen.
The Jens.
Thank you guys so much. Do you have any last words? Anything you want to say?
I just think I just want to you were saying that it's going to help somebody out there listening. And, I just want to encourage anybody that's listening that if you're, seeing those insurmountable situations, it just seems so overwhelming, that just trust us when we say that prayer, it really is.
For sure.
It really does work. And when you speak life over a situation that's difficult and you speak good things over another person, even though it's hard, it does help.
And whether that be a single mom or dad. There's single dads that are having to deal with the same thing out there. So it's like, just, know that there is hope and it does get better. It's just...
And hey, happy Mother's Day to you guys. Happy Mother's Day to every female out there. Whether you're a mom, grandma, foster mom, even if you don't have a child yet, but you've raised someone else's child, you've been a blessing to someone, spiritual mom. It's not just biological.
Our producer, Maddie. Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day to her. All right. And thank you guys for coming. And like I always say to end this, there's so much pain and negativity in the world right now, so much division, and we can make a difference. As you step out this week, spread some love, spread some hope, and be kind to someone. Thank you guys for watching. This is episode 2. We'll see you in our next video. Thank you guys.